To turn you to our earlier story, it's been a month since William Endley, a former South African National Defence Force colonel, was sentenced to death in South Sudan. Endley was charged with espionage and conspiring to overthrow that country's government. His sister, Charmaine Quinn, has filed for an appeal. She joins us this morning on the lead. Charmaine, thank you for your time. So your brother travels to South Sudan to help with the integration, I understand, of former rebels into the army. He's now charged and convicted of espionage and supplying arms to Riek Machar, the former opposition leader's forces. How and when did it go so wrong?
Basically, he was on trial and he was sentenced on the 23rd of February. We have lodged an appeal. The appeal went in on the 4th of March to try to, defend the allegations, which are grossly unfair. I've also written a letter to our President Cyril Ramaphosa, which to date I haven't had a reply, to try and also get our government to see the injustices of this sentence that he's received. The grounds of the appeal basically explain why, why this miscarriage of justice has actually led to a death penalty.
So you lodged this appeal, you said on the 3rd of March, I understand. We're now approaching the 3rd of April tomorrow. Have you heard back from the court authorities in South Sudan?
Not at all, and according to the advocate, it can be a very lengthy process, even up to a period of 2 years. So that's why we're appealing to the South African government and to DIRCO. I also emailed Lindisa Sulu to try and see the Minister of DIRCO to see if it can be expedited on this side, because his health is not well at all. It's not good at all.
What evidence was relied on to convict William, Charmaine?
Well, that's the problem. The evidence that they relied on, there was nothing factual. It was all evidence on the prosecution's side. As one of the clauses of the appeal was that there were no witnesses called by the trial judges, so it ended up there were no evidence, on my brother's side. So it's purely no factual evidence at all that they relied on for the sentencing.
The peace agreement in South Sudan, this is well documented, was never really a stable one. Why would your brother William agree to go work in what was already so volatile a situation?
I think that's basically just a sign of the person he is. He was there when the original peace accord was signed, and it was widely published with him, with Riek Machar, and I think he believed very strongly in implementing peace agreements. So I think that just shows the kind of man. He's there for the humanitarian side of it all and fighting for the rights of the people, and I think that's basically, what he stands for.
What are you hoping the South African government will do now that you've asked them to intervene? What kind of intervention would you like to see?
We'd like them to look at the grounds of the appeal and look at the whole carriage of injustice of this whole trial, and basically be there for him as a South African citizen. And our first prize would be to have him extradited to South Africa.
And we're reading this morning that your brother, you said he's not very well at the moment, but you are now able to send him some sort of resources during his time there in South Sudan. Is that correct?
Yes, we are, via the embassy. DIRCO have allowed us to send an allowance of 2,000 Rand per month. Plus, he is able to chat to me a bit more freely telephonically. So I do get calls every few weeks, and sort of lengthier calls than were previously allowed.
Have you lost any hope at all, Charmaine, that your brother will make it out of that prison in South Sudan?
I try not to. There are days where I feel that I'm fighting a losing battle, but my faith is very strong, and I know God has been with him all this time, and I do have a lot of faith in our South African government. I'm an honourable South African citizen. I'm born here. I will die here, and I believe very strongly in our government, and I know that they will be there. I have faith that behind the scenes that they are working on things. That's what keeps me going every day.
And overall, what impact has this had on your family?
It's been a very difficult one. He's got 5 children, and he's got 4 grandchildren. and my mom is not very well. She's in her 70s, and he's the only son. It's just my brother and I, and it's been emotional, financially it's been very difficult as my mom and I and some of his other family and friends and ex-colleagues have been there to assist us in a financial way, but most of it has fallen on my mom and I, as we have to pay in US dollars. So it's very, very expensive, and it's very difficult. But, besides the financial, the mental torture of it all, waking up every morning knowing he's in those conditions. And I did hear recently that he's actually in chains, which is very upsetting, and it torments you.
I want to go back to the people who took your brother to South Sudan, and these are people aligned with the former opposition leader Riek Machar. I'm wondering why it is that they are not assisting to get your brother, if he indeed was there on legit business and was not engaged in anything unlawful.
That's what we've been questioning, and I have tried to actually get hold of Riek Machar in the early days to try and see if he could maybe, do something there. But I think he himself is in a bit of a dire situation. And James Gadget, who was also affiliated to Riek Machar, is also in prison. So, I try to think that they may be in dire situations themselves, so there's not really anything they can do to assist them.
All right, Charmaine Quinn, sister of William Endley, a former South African Defence Force colonel, currently detained in South Sudan. Thank you for your time this morning.